My parents haven't said my name in 5 years. They believe I am a thief. They believe I tried to ruin my own brother. But in exactly 30 minutes, they are going to see the truth on a screen in front of millions of people. My name is Riley, and for 5 years, my family has believed I am a monster. They believe I stole from my own brother, that I tried to ruin his life out of pure jealousy. They believe I am the kind of person who deserves to be erased. My own mother, the woman who taught me how to tie my shoes, has not said my name in half a decade. My father, who used to call me his princess, now looks through me like I am made of glass. And my younger brother, the golden child, the one whose lie started all of this, is living the life I was supposed to have. But today, everything changes. Today, the truth finally has a voice, and I am the one holding the microphone. Let me start at the beginning. I was a normal girl once. I grew up in a small town called Oak Creek, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business. My family was the picture of perfection. My father, David, was a high school principal. My mother, Susan, was a real estate agent who dressed like she was always going to a brunch that mattered. And my brother, Ethan, was 2 years younger than me. From the outside, we were the American dream. But from the inside, I was already learning that love in my family had to be earned, and Ethan had a way of earning it that I never could. Ethan was charming. That is the word everyone used. He had this smile that could make teachers forget he had not done his homework. He had a laugh that made parents forgive him for breaking their favorite vase. He was the boy who could cry on command, who could turn on the waterworks like a faucet, and my parents drank every single tear like it was holy water. I, on the other hand, was the responsible one, the quiet one, the daughter who got straight A's without anyone noticing, the daughter who worked a part-time job at the local diner to pay for her own clothes so my parents could save money for Ethan's baseball equipment. I never resented him for it, not at first. I loved my brother. I protected him from bullies in middle school. I let him borrow my car when he was too young to have his own. I covered for him the time he snuck out to a party and got caught by the police. I was his sister, and I thought that meant something. I thought family was a bond that could not be broken. I was wrong. The trouble started in the spring of my senior year. I had been accepted to Northwestern University on a partial scholarship. It was not a full ride, but it was a start. My parents had promised me for years that they had a college fund for me. I had watched my father write checks into that account every month. I had heard my mother talk about it at dinner parties. So when I sat them down at the kitchen table and showed them my acceptance letter, I expected celebration. I expected hugs. Instead, my mother looked at my father, and my father looked at the floor. My mother said, "Riley, we need to talk about the money." That was when I learned that the college fund was gone. Every single dollar. Over the previous 2 years, my parents had drained the account to pay for Ethan's private baseball coaching, his travel team fees, his brand new truck on his 16th birthday, and the lawyer fees from a minor incident where he had been caught vandalizing school property. They had spent my future on his present, and they did not even have the decency to tell me until it was too late to apply for other scholarships. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just sat there, feeling something cold settle into my chest. I asked them what I was supposed to do. My mother said I could take out student loans like everyone else. My father said maybe I should consider a local community college for a year or two. And Ethan, who had been sitting on the couch pretending to text someone, looked up and gave me that smile. That innocent, "What did I do?" smile. I did not blame him then. I blamed my parents. I told them they had stolen from me. I told them they had chosen him over me. My mother's face turned red. My father's jaw tightened. They said I was being dramatic. They said family helps each other. They said Ethan had a real chance at a baseball scholarship, and my education could wait. I remember leaving the house that night and walking to the old bridge over Oak Creek. I sat on the railing and watched the water move underneath me. I was not going to jump. I was not that kind of girl. But I sat there long enough to feel the cold seep into my bones, and I made a promise to myself. I would never ask them for anything again. I would make my own way. I did not know then that the worst was still coming. That before the year was over, my brother would tell a lie so terrible that my own parents would choose to erase me completely. In the weeks that followed, I tried to pretend everything was normal. I kept working at the diner. I kept smiling at customers. I kept telling myself that I would figure out a way to pay for college. But inside, I was breaking. Every time I saw a family eating together, laughing together, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. My parents had not just taken my money. They had taken my sense of belonging. They had shown me that in their eyes, I was always second place. I started having nightmares. In the dreams, I would be standing in our living room and the walls would start closing in. My parents would be on one side, Ethan on the other, and they would all be pointing at me. Their fingers would grow longer and longer until they touched my skin, and then I would wake up gasping for air. I did not tell anyone about these dreams. I was ashamed. I thought maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was being dramatic. But there was one person who saw through my fake smile. Her name was Sarah, my best friend since kindergarten. Sarah had a way of knowing when something was wrong, even when I did not say a word. One afternoon, she came into the diner and sat in my section. She ordered her usual chocolate milkshake, and then she looked me in the eyes and said, "Riley, what is going on with you? You look like you have not slept in a month." I tried to laugh it off. I said I was just stressed about college applications, but Sarah did not let it go. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. She said, "You are my best friend. You do not have to be okay all the time. Please talk to me." So I told her. I told her about the college fund. I told her about my parents' faces when they said the money was gone. I told her about the cold feeling in my chest that would not go away. And Sarah listened. She did not interrupt. She did not offer solutions. She just sat there, holding my hand with tears in her eyes. When I finished, she said, "That is not okay. What they did to you is not okay. You are not being dramatic. You are being betrayed." I started crying then. I cried so hard that the other customers stared. I did not care. For the first time in weeks, someone had told me I was not crazy. Someone had seen my pain and called it by its real name: betrayal. Sarah said, "You are going to get through this. You are the strongest person I know, and I am going to be right here the whole time." I believed her. And that belief carried me through the next few months. I graduated high school with honors. I worked double shifts all summer. I took out the loans. I found a cheap room to rent near Northwestern. I was doing it. I was surviving. And then, in July, everything fell apart. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were my long days at the diner. I would work from 6 in the morning until 10 at night with only 2 short breaks. By the time I got home, I was exhausted. But on that particular Tuesday, I got home earlier than usual because my manager sent me home after a customer was rude to me. He said I looked like I needed rest. I did not argue. I drove home, parked my car, and walked into the house. The lights were off. I thought everyone was asleep. I tiptoed upstairs, but as I passed Ethan's room, I heard his voice. He was on the phone. He was laughing. And then I heard him say something that made my blood run cold. He said, "Do not worry about Riley. She is too busy playing the victim to notice anything. I have everything under control." I froze. I pressed my ear to the door. He was talking to someone about money, about transfers, about making sure no one could trace anything back to him. I did not understand everything he said, but I understood enough. My brother was planning something. And whatever it was, it involved me. I wanted to burst into the room and confront him. I wanted to scream at him and demand to know what he was doing. But something stopped me. Something told me to wait, to watch, to gather information before I made a move. I did not know then that waiting would be the smartest thing I ever did. But I also did not know that it would already be too late. The next few days, I watched Ethan closely. I noticed things I had never noticed before. He was always on his computer, always closing tabs when someone walked by. He had a second phone, a cheap burner phone that he kept hidden in his backpack. He made phone calls in the backyard, far from the house, where no one could overhear him. He was up to something big. I tried to tell my mother. One morning, when Ethan was at baseball practice, I sat down with her at the kitchen table. I said, "Mom, I think something is going on with Ethan. He is acting strange. He has a second phone. I heard him talking about money transfers." My mother looked at me like I had grown a second head. She said, "Riley, I know you are upset about the college fund, but making up stories about your brother is not going to fix anything." I said, "I am not making it up." I heard him. She shook her head. She said, "Ethan is a good kid. He has never given us a moment of trouble." You, on the other hand, have been angry and distant for months. Maybe you should focus on your own behavior before you start pointing fingers at your brother. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I had come to her with a genuine concern, and she had turned it around on me. She had made me the bad guy. Again. I stood up from the table without saying another word. I walked to my room, closed the door, and sat on my bed in the dark. I felt so alone, so invisible, so completely and utterly unseen. That night I called Sarah. I told her what my mother had said. Sarah was furious. She said, "Your family is toxic, Riley. You need to get out of there as soon as you can." I said, "I am leaving for college in 2 months. I just have to hold on until then." But I did not know that I would not make it 2 months. I did not know that Ethan's plan was already in motion. And I did not know that the worst night of my life was just around the corner. 3 days later, I came home from a late shift at the diner. It was almost midnight. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. I walked in and saw my parents sitting at the table. Ethan was standing behind them, his arms crossed, his face wet with tears. My mother was crying. My father looked like he had aged 10 years. My mother said, "Riley, sit down." I sat down. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I asked what was wrong. My father spoke first. He said, "Ethan told us what you did." I looked at Ethan. His lip was trembling. He would not meet my eyes. I asked what they were talking about. And then my mother said the words that would echo in my head for the next 5 years. She said, "Ethan told us you stole the money from his college fund. He told us you transferred it to your own account because you were angry about losing your scholarship money." I laughed. I actually laughed because it was so absurd. I said, "That is insane. I do not even have access to his college fund. I do not know the passwords. I have never touched a single dollar of his money." My father pulled out a bank statement. He pointed to a series of transfers made over the past 2 months. $5,000 here, $3,000 there, another $2,000, total of nearly $20,000. All transferred from Ethan's college savings account to an account that, according to the bank, was opened in my name. I said I did not open that account. I said someone was framing me. I looked at Ethan, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes that terrified me. It was not guilt. It was satisfaction. He had planned this. He had set me up. My mother said, "The bank has your signature on the account opening forms. They have your social security number. They have your driver's license." I said someone must have forged them. I said Ethan could have done it. He knew my information. He was my brother. Ethan started crying harder. He said, "I cannot believe you would blame me. I trusted you. We all trusted you. And now you are trying to ruin me just like you ruined my relationship with Chloe." My father stood up. He pointed his finger at me. He said, "You are no longer our daughter. You will leave this house tonight, and you will not come back until you are ready to admit what you have done and pay back every single dollar." I begged. I pleaded. I told them to check the IP addresses of the transfers. I told them to look at the dates because I had been working double shifts on half of those days. I told them to ask the bank to review the security footage. I told them to call the police and let them investigate. I told them everything I could think of to make them believe me. But my parents did not want to hear it. They wanted a villain, and I was the easiest target. My mother said, "Do you have any idea what this will do to Ethan's baseball scholarship? If this becomes public, he could lose everything." "How could you be so selfish?" I stared at her. I could not believe what I was hearing. She was worried about Ethan's baseball scholarship. She was not worried about the truth. She was not worried about me. She was worried about the family's perfect image. I looked at my father. I said, "Dad, please, you are a principal. You know how investigations work. Just give me a chance to prove my innocence." My father would not look at me. He stared at the wall behind my head and said, "The evidence is clear, Riley. I cannot help you." That was when I knew. They had already made up their minds. They had chosen Ethan. They had chosen the lie, and there was nothing I could do to change it. I packed one suitcase. I left my childhood bedroom, my books, my photos, my everything. I walked out the front door at 1 in the morning. The last thing I heard was my mother's voice saying, "Do not call us. Do not write to us. You are dead to us." I did not look back. I drove to Sarah's house. I cried on her couch until the sun came up, and then I made a decision. I was not going to let this destroy me. I was going to college. I was going to build a life. And one day, I was going to prove the truth. One day, I was going to make them all sorry. Sarah held me while I cried. She did not say much, she just held me. And when the sun came up, she made me pancakes. She said, "You are going to be okay. I know it does not feel like it right now, but you are going to be okay." I wanted to believe her, but the pain was so big. It felt like a hole had been carved out of my chest. I had lost my family. I had lost my home. I had lost my future. All because my brother wanted revenge for a breakup that I had not even caused. The next 5 years were not easy. I do not want to make it sound like I just brushed myself off and became successful overnight. There were nights I slept in my car because I could not afford rent. There were weeks I ate nothing but ramen noodles and free coffee from the diner. There were mornings I woke up and forgot, for just a second, that my family had disowned me. And then I remembered, and it felt like drowning all over again. My first semester at Northwestern was the hardest. I had no money, I had no support system. I had Sarah, but she was back in Oak Creek and we could only talk on the phone. I was alone in a new city, surrounded by students whose parents visited on weekends and sent care packages and paid for their textbooks without a second thought. I was the girl who worked 3 jobs and fell asleep in the library. I was the girl who never went to parties because she had to be at the diner at 6 in the morning. I was the girl who cried in the bathroom between classes, washed her face, and walked back out with a smile. There was one night I will never forget. It was the first Thanksgiving after I was disowned. I had nowhere to go. The dorms were closed. All my classmates had gone home to their families. I was alone in the city, and the only place I could afford to stay was a cheap motel near the highway. I bought a frozen dinner from the gas station. I ate it sitting on the edge of the bed, watching the rain run down the window. I tried to call Sarah, but her phone went to voicemail. She was with her family, eating turkey and laughing, and I was glad for her. I really was, but I was also so jealous that it hurt. I thought about calling my parents. I had not spoken to them since the night they kicked me out. I did not even know if they had the same phone numbers, but I could not stop myself from imagining it. I imagined my mother picking up the phone. I imagined her saying my name. I imagined her apologizing. I imagined her telling me to come home, but I knew it would not happen. I knew that if I called, she would either hang up or tell me to pay back the money first. And I did not have the money. I did not have anything, so I ate my frozen dinner. I watched the rain, and I made another promise to myself. I would never be this alone again. I would build a family of my own. Not a family of blood, but a family of choice. People who loved me for who I was. People who believed me when I told the truth. The next few years, I worked harder than I had ever worked in my life. I waited tables in the morning. I attended classes in the afternoon. I tutored high school kids in the evening. I slept 4 hours a night for 2 straight years. I graduated from Northwestern with honors. I got a job at a marketing firm in Chicago. I moved into a tiny studio apartment that smelled like old pizza, but it was mine. I started building a name for myself, and all the while, I watched my family from a distance. I did not call them, I did not email them, but I watched. Social media is a powerful thing. I saw my mother posting pictures of Ethan in his college baseball uniform. I saw my father bragging about his son's batting average. I saw Ethan smiling with his new girlfriend, living in the house my parents had paid for, driving the car they had bought him, spending the money they had drained from my future. The lie had worked. He had gotten away with it. And I was the forgotten daughter, the cautionary tale, the name that was never spoken in their house. I thought about revenge a lot in those early years. I imagined walking into their living room with a lawyer and a police officer. I imagined showing them the proof that Ethan had stolen the money himself. I imagined the look on my mother's face when she realized she had chosen the wrong child. I imagined my father's voice breaking as he apologized. I imagined Ethan being handcuffed and led away, but I never did it, because proving the truth was not simple. Ethan had been careful. He had used a public computer at the library to make the transfers. He had forged my signature so well that even a handwriting expert might have been fooled. He had covered his tracks like someone who had been planning this for a long time. I had no money for a lawyer. I had no money for a private investigator. I had nothing but my word against his, and his word was backed by my parents' bank account. There were moments when I almost gave up. Moments when I thought, maybe they are right. Maybe I am the monster. Maybe I did something to deserve this. Those were the dark moments, the ones that came at 3 in the morning when I could not sleep. I would lie in my bed and replay every argument, every fight, every harsh word. I would wonder if I had been a bad daughter. I would wonder if I had been a bad sister. I would wonder if I had somehow brought this on myself. But then I would remember the truth. I would remember the night I overheard Ethan on the phone. I would remember the satisfaction in his eyes when my parents accused me. I would remember that I had done nothing wrong, and I would hold onto that memory like a lifeline. I realized something in those years. My brother was not just a liar. He was a sociopath. He had no guilt. He had no remorse. He had watched his own sister get thrown out of the family, and he had slept fine that night. Maybe better than fine. Maybe he had slept like a baby. He had gotten everything he wanted. The college fund was his alone. The spotlight was his alone. My parents' love and attention were his alone. By the time I was 23, I had stopped obsessing over revenge. I had a new life. I had friends who loved me. I had a career that was starting to take off. I was even dating someone, a quiet graphic designer named Marcus, who made me feel safe in a way I had not felt since I was a child. Marcus was patient. He was kind. He never pushed me to talk about my past, but he was always there when I needed to. He held me on the nights when the nightmares came back. He told me I was worthy of love. He told me I was not broken. I thought maybe I could just let it go. Maybe I could be happy without closure. Maybe forgiveness was overrated. Maybe I could build a new family and forget that the old one ever existed. But the universe has a way of bringing things back around. And in my case, it brought things back in the form of a reality television show. I know how that sounds. Reality TV is trashy. It is manipulative. It is the lowest form of entertainment. But sometimes, trashy television is exactly what justice looks like. There is a show called The Reunion. Have you heard of it? It is a documentary series that brings together estranged families and forces them to confront their past. The producers find families who have been torn apart by lies, secrets, and betrayals. They film everything. They do DNA tests. They hire private investigators. They dig up the truth. And then, at the end of each episode, the family sits down together and watches the evidence. It is brutal, it is humiliating, and it is exactly what my family deserved. I did not seek them out. They came to me. A producer named Jenna found me through a LinkedIn message. She said she had heard about my story from a former classmate of mine. She said she thought my case was one of the most compelling she had ever seen. She said they had already spoken to my parents and my brother, and they had all agreed to participate. I almost said no. I almost deleted the message and went back to my quiet life. But then I thought about my mother's face when she told me I was dead to her. I thought about my father's finger pointing in my face. I thought about Ethan's satisfied smile as he watched me walk out the door. I thought about the frozen dinner on Thanksgiving. I thought about the nights in my car. I thought about every single moment of pain and loneliness I had endured because of their lie. And I felt something that had been buried for 5 years. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was a cold, clear certainty that I had done nothing wrong and the world deserved to know it. I wrote back to Jenna. I said yes. But I did not tell Marcus right away. I was scared. I was scared that he would think I was crazy for agreeing to be on a reality TV show. I was scared that he would see me differently. I was scared that the show would bring up all the pain I had worked so hard to bury. I carried the secret for 3 days before I finally told him. We were sitting on his couch, watching a movie. I could not focus on the screen. My hands were shaking, Marcus noticed. He paused the movie and turned to me. He said, "Riley, what is going on? You have been weird all week." I took a deep breath. I said, "I got a message from a TV show. They want me to confront my family on camera." Marcus's eyes went wide. He said, "What show?" I told him about the reunion. I told him that my parents and Ethan had already agreed to participate. I told him that the producers thought my story was compelling. I told him that I had already said yes. Marcus was quiet for a long time. I could see him processing. I could see the worry in his eyes. I was sure he was going to tell me not to do it. I was sure he was going to say it was a bad idea. But instead, he took my hand. He said, "If this is something you need to do, I will support you. But I need you to promise me something." I said, "What?" He said, "Promise me you will take care of yourself. Promise me you will not let this destroy the life you have built. Promise me that no matter what happens on that show, you will come back to me." I started crying. I had spent so many years feeling alone, feeling like no one had my back. And here was this man, this quiet, kind man, telling me that he would support me no matter what. I threw my arms around him and held on tight. I said, "I promise." The production took 6 months. 6 months of phone calls with Jenna. 6 months of signing paperwork. 6 months of waiting and wondering and worrying. The show's investigators were incredible. They worked in the background, gathering evidence, tracking down witnesses, building a case that would be impossible to deny. They found the library security footage from the day Ethan made the transfers. They found the librarian who remembered a teenage boy using the computer for hours, looking over his shoulder the whole time. They found a forensic accountant who traced the money from Ethan's account to the fake account in my name. And then from that fake account to a second account that Ethan had opened under a false name. They found emails Ethan had sent to a friend bragging about how he had framed me. The friend, who had since had a falling out with Ethan, agreed to appear on camera. They also found something I had not known. My parents had known, on some level, that the story did not add up. Emails between my mother and a private investigator she had hired 6 months after I left showed that she had doubts. She had asked the investigator to look into the bank records. The investigator had found inconsistencies, but my mother had told him to stop. She had written, quote, "If we dig any deeper, we might find something that destroys our family. We have already lost one child. I will not lose another." She had chosen to stay in the lie. She had chosen Ethan's comfort over my truth, and that hurt more than anything else. More than the lie itself. More than the 5 years of silence. My mother had known, deep down, that something was wrong, and she had chosen to look away. She had chosen to protect the son who had destroyed her daughter. I read that email 100 times. Each time, it hurt just as much as the first. I would sit in my apartment, staring at the words on my computer screen, and I would feel the tears come. Not angry tears, not sad tears, just tears of exhaustion. I was so tired of being the one who was thrown away. The day of the filming arrived. It was a cold October morning in Chicago. I woke up before my alarm. I lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. I thought about the 18-year-old girl who had left Oak Creek with one suitcase. I thought about the 23-year-old woman I had become. I thought about all the nights I had dreamed of this moment, and I felt something I had not expected. I felt calm. I got out of bed. I took a long shower. I put on a simple black dress. I did my hair the way I used to do it in high school. I looked in the mirror and saw an 18-year-old girl who had been thrown away. But I also saw a 23-year-old woman who had survived. I saw strength in my eyes. I saw resilience. I saw someone who had been through hell and had come out the other side. Marcus drove me to the studio. He held my hand the whole way. Neither of us said much. There was nothing left to say. He parked the car and we sat there for a moment. He turned to me and kissed my forehead. He said, "Whatever happens today, I am proud of you. I am proud of the person you are, and I love you." I said, "I love you too." I got out of the car. I walked into the studio, and I did not look back. The studio was a large, empty room with couches arranged in a semicircle. There were cameras everywhere. The host of the show was a woman named Deborah, a calm, middle-aged therapist type who had a way of making people confess things they never meant to say. She met me backstage and told me the plan. My parents and Ethan would come in first. They would sit on one side of the room, then I would come in. We would talk for a while, and then the producers would show the evidence. Deborah said, "Are you ready?" I said, "I have been ready for 5 years." Deborah looked at me for a long moment. She said, "Riley, I have done a lot of these episodes. I have seen a lot of pain, but your story is different. You are different. Whatever happens out there, remember that you have already won. You survived. That is the victory." I nodded. I did not trust myself to speak. They walked in first. I watched them on a monitor backstage. My mother looked older. Her hair was gray now, not the blonde she used to dye it. Her face was lined with wrinkles I did not remember. She looked tired. My father had lost weight. His shoulders were hunched in a way I did not remember. He looked smaller somehow, like the years had worn him down. And Ethan looked like a man who had never been told no. He was wearing a designer suit. His hair was perfectly styled. He walked into the room like he owned it, like he was doing the show a favor by being there. They sat down. My mother adjusted her purse on her lap. My father stared at the floor. Ethan leaned back on the couch and crossed his legs. Deborah asked them how they were feeling. My mother said she was nervous but hopeful. My father said he just wanted to move on. Ethan said he was excited to finally clear the air. Then Deborah said, "There is someone here who wants to see you." The door opened. I walked in. The look on my mother's face is something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. It was not joy. It was not relief. It was shock, pure and white. She had not seen me in 5 years. I was no longer the tearful teenager who had begged for mercy. I was a woman. I was calm. I was in control. My father's mouth fell open. He stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. I saw his lips move, but no sound came out. And Ethan's face went pale. His smile disappeared. For the first time in his life, he did not know what to say. I walked to the couch across from them. I sat down. I folded my hands in my lap. I looked at each of them one by one. I started with my father, then my mother, then Ethan. Ethan's face was unreadable. He was good at that. He had always been good at hiding. But I saw something flicker in his eyes. It was fear. He did not know what I had brought with him. He did not know how much I knew. My mother spoke first. Her voice cracked. She said, "Riley, is it really you?" I said, "It is really me, the daughter you threw away." My mother started to cry. She said, "We never threw you away. We thought you had done something terrible. We were hurt. We were angry." I said, "You never asked for my side of the story. You never investigated. You never gave me a chance to defend myself. You looked at a piece of paper and decided I was a criminal. That is throwing me away." My father said, "We did not throw you away. You made choices. You stole from your brother." I looked at him. I did not blink. I said, "No, I did not. And today, you are going to see the truth." Deborah asked me to tell my side of the story, so I did. I told them everything. I told them about the night I overheard Ethan on the phone. I told them about Chloe and the breakup. I told them about the bank statements I had never seen before that night. I told them about sleeping in my car and eating ramen noodles and working 3 jobs while Ethan played baseball in the sun. I told them about every birthday they had forgotten, every Christmas I had spent alone, every time I had looked at a family in a restaurant and felt my chest crack open with grief. I told them about the frozen dinner on Thanksgiving. I told them about the nights I cried myself to sleep. I told them about the dreams I had given up on. I told them about the person I had become. My mother cried through the whole thing. Tears streamed down her face. She did not wipe them away. My father stared at his hands. He did not look up once. Ethan sat perfectly still. His face was a mask, but I saw his jaw clench. I saw his hands grip his knees. He was not as calm as he pretended to be. When I finished, the room was silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. Deborah turned to Ethan. She said, "Ethan, what do you say to your sister?" Ethan leaned forward. He put on that smile, that charming, innocent smile that had fooled everyone for his entire life. He said, "Riley, I am sorry you feel that way. But the evidence is clear. You stole that money. You have had 5 years to come clean, and you have not. I do not know what you hope to gain from this." I did not respond. I just looked at Deborah. Deborah looked at the camera and said, "We have gathered some evidence of our own. We would like to show it to you now." A screen lowered from the ceiling. The lights dimmed, and the footage began to play. First, the library security video. Grainy, black and white, but unmistakable. A teenage boy sitting at a computer. He looks around. He types. He pulls a piece of paper out of his pocket. He copies numbers from the paper onto the screen. The timestamp matches the day of the transfers. The boy is Ethan. My mother gasped. My father sat up straight. Ethan's smile did not disappear, but it froze. It became a mask. Next, the forensic accountant's report. A clear, color-coded chart showing the money moving from Ethan's account to the fake account in my name, and then from that fake account to an account under the name E. T. Harper, Ethan Thomas Harper, his full name. My mother turned to Ethan. Her voice was barely a whisper. She said, "What is this?" Ethan did not answer. Then came the emails. A series of messages between Ethan and his high school friend Derek. Derek's face appeared on screen in a pre-recorded interview. He said, "Ethan told me everything." He said his parents were spending too much money on Riley's college fund, and he wanted to make sure they stopped. He said he opened a fake account in her name and transferred the money out of his own fund to make it look like she did it. He laughed about it. He thought it was funny. The last email was shown on screen. Ethan had written, and the best part is they believed me. My parents kicked her out. They did not even ask for proof. They just threw her away like garbage. I have never felt more powerful. The room was silent. My mother was sobbing now, deep, heaving sobs that shook her whole body. My father had his head in his hands. His shoulders were shaking. He was crying too. Ethan sat perfectly still, his face white, his hands gripping his knees so hard that his knuckles were white. Deborah said, "Ethan, is there anything you would like to say to your family?" Ethan looked at me. For the first time in 5 years, I saw something real in his eyes. It was not guilt. It was not remorse. It was panic. He was not sorry for what he had done. He was sorry he got caught. He said, "I was a kid. I made a mistake." I finally spoke. I said, "You were 17 years old. You knew exactly what you were doing. You forged my signature. You created a fake bank account. You lied to our parents. And then you watched them throw me out of the house. You watched me leave with one suitcase. You did not say a word. That is not a mistake. That is cruelty." Ethan's voice cracked. He said, "I did not think it would go that far. I thought they would forgive you after a few weeks. I thought you would come back. I did not know they would cut you off completely." I said, "You knew exactly what would happen. You knew our parents. You knew they would believe you. You knew they would choose you. That was the whole point. You wanted them to choose you." Ethan did not deny it. He just sat there, staring at the floor. My mother turned to me. She reached out her hand. She said, "Riley, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have asked more questions. I should have been a better mother." I did not take her hand. I said, "You hired a private investigator. You knew something was wrong. But you told him to stop because you did not want to lose Ethan. You chose the liar over the truth. You chose him over me." My mother's face crumpled. She said, "I was afraid. I thought if I lost him too, I would have nothing left." I said, "You already had nothing left. You had me, and you threw me away." My father finally looked up. He had tears running down his face. He said, "Riley, we failed you. We failed you in every possible way. Can you ever forgive us?" I looked at him. I thought about all the nights I had dreamed of this moment. I thought about all the speeches I had prepared in my head. I thought about revenge. But when I opened my mouth, the words that came out were not what I had planned. I said, "I do not know if I can forgive you, but I know that I am done carrying this anger. I have spent 5 years being the person you threw away, and I am tired. I am so tired. I did not come here for an apology. I came here for the truth. And now the truth is out. What you do with it is up to you." I stood up. I looked at Ethan one last time. His mask had cracked. He looked small. He looked like a little boy who had never learned that actions have consequences. There were tears on his cheeks, but I did not know if they were real or if he had turned on the faucet again. I decided it did not matter. I said, "I hope you get the help you need. I really do. Because living with what you have done is going to be harder than you think. The guilt will find you. It will find you in the middle of the night. It will find you when you are alone. It will find you when you look in the mirror. And you will have to live with that for the rest of your life." I walked out of the room. I did not run. I did not cry. I walked with my head high, and I did not look back. The episode aired 3 months later. I did not watch it live. Marcus and I watched it together in our apartment, with popcorn and a bottle of wine. Seeing my family fall apart on screen was strange. It was not satisfying the way I had imagined. It was just sad. Sad that it had taken 5 years and a television show for the truth to come out. Sad that my mother's apology came too late. Sad that my father's tears did not change anything. Sad that Ethan's face, when the evidence was shown, looked like the face of a stranger. The aftermath was chaotic. The show went viral. Millions of people watched it. Articles were written. Podcasts discussed it. People sent me messages on social media, calling me brave and strong and inspiring. Strangers stopped me on the street to say they were sorry for what I had been through. Old classmates reached out to apologize for not believing me. Even Chloe, Ethan's ex-girlfriend, sent me a message. She said she had always known something was off. She said she was sorry she had not spoken up sooner. But there were also messages from people who said I was cruel for airing my family's dirty laundry on national television. They said I should have forgiven them in private. They said revenge was not the answer. They said I was just as bad as Ethan. Maybe they are right. Maybe I could have handled it differently. Maybe I could have hired a private investigator on my own. Maybe I could have taken Ethan to court. Maybe I could have just let it go and moved on with my life. But I did what I did, and I do not regret it, because the truth matters. And for 5 years, the truth was buried under a lie. I just dug it up. My parents reached out after the episode aired. My mother sent me a long email. She said she had started therapy. She said she and my father were seeing a counselor together. She said they wanted to try to rebuild a relationship with me if I would let them. She said they loved me. She said they always had. I did not reply right away. I let the email sit in my inbox for 2 weeks. I read it over and over. I showed it to Marcus. I talked about it with Sarah. I thought about what I wanted, not what I owed them, not what they deserved, what I wanted. Finally, I wrote back. I said I was not ready to see them yet. I said I needed more time. I said I appreciated their apology, but an apology does not undo 5 years of silence. An apology does not give me back the Thanksgivings I spent alone. An apology does not erase the nights I slept in my car. I said maybe one day, but not today. Ethan's life fell apart. The baseball scholarship was revoked. His friends abandoned him. His girlfriend left him. He had to transfer to a community college. My parents stopped paying for his apartment. He moved back into their house, but I heard from a family friend that the house was not a home anymore. There was no trust. There was no warmth. There was just the cold silence of a family that had been broken by a lie. I do not celebrate his suffering. That is not who I am, but I will not pretend I am sad about it either. He made his choices. He hurt me. He hurt our parents. He hurt everyone who loved him. And now he is living with the consequences. Some nights, I wonder if he thinks about me. I wonder if he lies awake in his childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment he decided to destroy me. I wonder if he regrets it. I wonder if he ever will. As for me, I am still building my life. I am still in Chicago. I am still with Marcus. I got a promotion at work. I adopted a dog, a little rescue mutt named Luna who sleeps at the foot of my bed and does not care about my past. Luna does not ask about my family. Luna does not judge me for going on a reality TV show. Luna just wags her tail and licks my face and loves me unconditionally. Sometimes I think dogs understand forgiveness better than humans do. I have good days and bad days. Some days, I wake up and feel free. I feel like the weight of the past 5 years has finally lifted. I feel like I can breathe. I go for a run. I make breakfast. I laugh with Marcus. I live. Other days, I wake up and feel the weight of what I lost. I miss my mother's cooking. I miss my father's laugh. I miss the way our house smelled on Sunday mornings. I miss the family I thought I had. Those days are harder. Those days, I let myself grieve. I cry. I talk to Marcus. I hold Luna. And then I get up and keep going. Grief is not linear. Healing is not a straight line. Some weeks I feel like I have made so much progress. Other weeks I feel like I am back at the beginning. But I have learned that this is normal. This is what recovery looks like. It is messy, it is slow, it is painful, but it is also beautiful in its own way. But I have learned something important, something I want to share with anyone who has ever been hurt by the people who were supposed to love them. Revenge does not heal you. It does not fill the hole in your chest. It does not bring back the childhood you lost or the parents who failed you. What revenge does is give you back your voice. It lets you stand in a room full of people who have wronged you and say, I was here. I mattered. You do not get to erase me. And sometimes, having your voice back is enough. Sometimes, being seen and heard and believed is its own kind of healing. I did not get my family back. I did not get my college fund back. I did not get the 5 years I lost. But I got my truth back. And that is something no one can ever take from me again. I am Riley Harper. I am the daughter who was thrown away. I am the sister who was framed. I am the woman who came back. And I am not a victim. I am a survivor. I am the truth teller. And I am finally free. The show is over now. The cameras are gone. The producers have moved on to other families with other lies. The internet has moved on to other scandals. The world has moved on. But I am still here, in my tiny apartment with my dog and my boyfriend and my second-hand furniture. I am still here, and I am still telling my story. Not for revenge, not for fame, not for pity. Just so that anyone who has ever been thrown away by the people who were supposed to love them knows that you can survive it. You can come back. You can build something new. You can find a new family. You can find a new home. You can find a new purpose. It will not be easy. It will not be fast. There will be nights when you want to give up. There will be mornings when you forget why you are still fighting. But you keep going. You keep putting one foot in front of the other. You keep telling yourself that tomorrow might be better. And one day, you will wake up and realize that it is better. That you are better. That you have become someone you never thought you could be. My name is Riley. And for the first time in 5 years, I am not afraid to say it out loud. I am not afraid of my past. I am not afraid of my family. I am not afraid of the truth. Because the truth has set me free. And no lie, no betrayal, no amount of pain will ever take that freedom away from me again. This is my story. This is my truth. And I am finally ready to live the rest of my life.